welcome to channel. She did not plan to fight, she planned to endure. And that is how this story begins. If you are listening, stay close. Because this is not just about justice, it is about what happens when silence finally breaks. The morning, everything changed, felt ordinary. The sky was dull, the coffee tasted the same. Her reflection did not warn her. She walked into that building believing rules meant protection, believing truth mattered, believing the system was designed for people like her. She would learn how wrong that belief was. She had spent her life doing everything right, working hard, keeping her head down, trusting authority. In America, we are taught that justice is blind, that fairness lives in paperwork and procedure, that if you follow the rules, you will be safe. She followed every rule and still she was ignored. The first time she spoke up, her voice was calm, measured, respectful. She explained what happened, what she saw, what she knew. They nodded, they wrote notes, they promised to look into it. Nothing happened. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The silence became loud. Every unanswered email, every delayed meeting, every polite dismissal carved out into her chest. She started questioning herself. Was it really that bad? Did I misunderstand? Am I overreacting? That is how injustice survives, not through force, but through doubt. She went home each night carrying the weight of what she knew. What she could not unsee. Sleep stopped coming. Her body stayed tense. Her thoughts circled across the room. Her phone stayed quiet. No updates, no calls, just waiting. People around her moved on. They laughed, they made plans, they trusted the world would behave. She felt disconnected, like she had stepped into a different reality. The truth isolates you before it empowers you. When she tried again, her voice shook. Not with fear, but with frustration. She asked harder questions. She requested accountability. She named names. The room changed. Eyes avoided hers. Voices tightened. Smiles disappeared this time. They did not nod. They warned. Be careful. You do not want to ruin your career. These things are complicated. Complicated is often code for inconvenient. That was the moment she understood. Justice was not broken. It was selective, and she was not selected. She drove home that night, gripping the steering wheel, her hands numb, her jaw locked. She cried once, then stopped. Something hardened, something focused. If no one else would protect the truth, she would. That decision did not feel brave. It felt terrifying. She knew what standing up would cost. Whispers, isolation, retaliation, but staying silent was already costing her peace. She began documenting everything, dates, times, conversations. Her kitchen table turned into a battlefield of paperwork, notes spread like evidence of a life unraveling. Every detail mattered now. People noticed she had changed. She was quieter, sharper. Some friends pulled away. Others told her to let it go. Move on. It is not worth it. But justice does not ask permission. It demands persistence. The system pushed back quietly. Meetings canceled, emails, unanswered doors closed. She was no longer invisible. She was inconvenient. That is when fear arrived fully. Not dramatic, not sudden. It crept in at night. What if I lose everything? What if I am wrong? What if I am alone? She was alone, but she kept going across the city. A lawyer sat across from her, flipping through pages, raising eyebrows, sighing. This will be hard. This will take time. They will fight back, she nodded. She already knew justice is not a straight line. It is a maze designed to exhaust you. She signed papers with shaking hands, not because she doubted the truth, but because she understood the cost. The moment she filed the complaint, the pressure doubled. People who once greeted her warmly now avoid her. Her work was scrutinized. Her reputation questioned. They did not attack the facts. They attacked her, her tone, her motives, her character. This is how power defends itself. She learned quickly that truth is not enough. You must survive long enough to tell it. There were days she wanted to quit, days she stared at the ceiling, calculating escape routes. But every time she imagined walking away, she saw the faces of those who could not speak, those who were watching. That kept her standing. The case moved slowly, painfully. Paperwork piled up, deadlines, past excuses multiplied. Justice delayed is not neutral. It favors the powerful. Her life shrank around the fight. Social circles dissolved, savings drained, but her purpose sharpened. She was no longer just fighting for herself. She was fighting the lie that silence is safety. Every step forward felt like resistance. Every pause felt intentional. Still, she continued. Because injustice depends on exhaustion, and she refused to give it that victory. If you're listening and your chest feels tight, if this feels familiar, that is not coincidence. This is the moment before transformation, the point where survival turns into defiance. And this is only the beginning. The pressure did not arrive all at once. It arrived in small, precise cuts, the kind that bleed quietly. If you are still here listening, this is where the fight stops being abstract. This is where it becomes personal. The first retaliation looked innocent. A performance review that suddenly changed tone, questions about her attitude, concerns about her fit. She read the words, slowly recognizing none of herself in them. Gaslighting does not shout, it rewrites reality. She appealed, she documented, she stayed professional. Professionalism did not protect her. It exposed her. Her workload doubled, deadlines tightened, mistakes were hunted. She started waking up before her alarm. Heart racing, mind rehearsing conversations that had not happened yet. Stress becomes a second job at night. She replayed meetings, every word, every glance. She wondered how truth could feel so heavy and lies so light. People she trusted stopped responding. Some crossed the hallway to avoid her, others offered sympathy without support. Silence has many accomplices. Her lawyer warned her, this is escalation, they want you to break. That night she sat alone in her car long after the engine turned off, hands on the wheel. Breathing shallow, she considered walking away. Not because she was wrong, but because she was tired. That is how injustice almost wins, but then something unexpected happened. A message arrived short, careful, you are not alone. I saw it till her hands shook as she read it again and again. One voice becomes two, and two becomes dangerous. They met quietly. Two women sharing pieces of a truth that matched well different experiences, same pattern. The system was not broken. It was consistent. This knowledge did not bring comfort, it brought responsibility. Now she knew the scope, now she understood the risk. She shared everything with her lawyer. The case shifted, expanded, and so did the resistance. Legal letters arrived, cold, precise. Threatening consequences. Her name appeared in documents that framed her as the problem. As unstable as disgruntled, they tried to bury her in language. Language can be a weapon. Her family noticed the change. The weight she carried home, the way joy faded, they worried, they begged her to protect herself. She loved them, but she could not unsee the truth. There were moments of deep doubt, standing in grocery store aisles, forgetting what she needed, staring at screens, unable to focus. Trauma does not always scream. Sometimes it numbs. She learned the cost of integrity. It is paid in pieces of yourself. Court dates were set, then delayed, documents requested, then withheld. Every step forward met resistance. Every answer raised new questions. Still, she showed up some days. Courage meant simply walking into the room, sitting at the table, speaking when spoken to. Her voice steadied with repetition. Fear slowly transformed into resolve. She stopped trying to be liked, only honest. That shift unsettled them. During one deposition, she told the truth plainly, without embellishment. Without apology, the room grew quiet for the first time. She felt the balance tilt slightly, but enough power does not like being seen. Retaliation intensified. Her job ended quietly. Official reasons carefully crafted. The loss hit hard, not just financially, but psychologically. Work had been her identity, safety. Now both were gone. She grieved in silence, then recalculated. Justice does not pause for comfort. She took temporary work, cut expenses, lived lean. The fight continued in the background, relentless. Some nights she cried from exhaustion. Other nights she felt nothing at all but quitting. No longer felt possible. She had crossed a line inside herself. There was no return. If you are listening and wondering how long strength lasts, it lasts longer than fear, longer than systems expect. Because courage evolves, it starts as survival, then resistance, then purpose. And she was entering the most dangerous phase, yet the phase where truth begins to spread and power starts to panic. When the story reached daylight, it did not arrive gently. It arrived with resistance. The first article framed it as a dispute-neutral language. Careful distance. She recognized that tone. It protected institutions, not people. Still, her name was there, her words, her timeline. Once truth is printed, it cannot be unseen. Phones began ringing. Journalists, advocates, strangers' support came in waves. So did backlash. Anonymous emails appeared, accusations, threats, warnings disguised as advice. You should let this go. You are ruining lives. You will regret this. Fear tried to return, but it no longer fit. She had already lost too much to be intimidated in public spaces. People stared, some with admiration, some with judgment. Visibility is another battlefield. Her lawyer prepared her. This is when they tried to settle quietly, quickly. The offer came with conditions: money, silence, no admission of wrongdoing. She stared at the paper for a long time. Justice is expensive. Silence is tempting. She thought of the woman who messaged her, of the others who would never speak. If she did not, she said no. The backlash intensified. Court filings grew. Aggressive motions meant to exhaust, delay, discourage. They questioned her credibility, her mental health, her motives. She answered with facts. Depositions stretched for hours. Questions looping, trying to provoke emotion. She learned to pause, to breathe, to speak slowly. Control is power. In the gallery, she noticed faces. Women taking notes, men avoiding eye contact. This was no longer just her case. Advocacy groups reached out, offering support, amplifying her story. The narrative shifted. What once looked like an isolated incident now showed patterns, policies, histories. The institution responded with statements, words polished, meaning empty behind closed doors. Panic spread. Whistleblowers stepped forward, former employees, contractors. Truth has gravity. Once it starts pulling, it does not stop. The trial date arrived. She walked into the courtroom with steady steps, not because she was fearless, but because she had practiced fear. The room felt heavy, expectation thick. She testified for hours, detail by detail, moment by moment. She did not rush. She did not perform. She told it as it happened. At one point, her voice cracked. Just once she did not apologize. The defense tried to dismantle her, pressed inconsistencies, suggested exaggeration. She remained grounded. Memory is not perfection. It is persistence. When they finished questioning her, She sat back exhausted but intact. Witness after witness followed, patterns emerging, corroboration building. The room changed during closing arguments. The defense spoke of policy, procedure, protocol. Her attorney spoke of people, of power, of silence, of cost. The jury listened, waiting as its own punishment. Days passed. She lived in a suspended state, unable to plan, unable to rest. Then the call came. The verdict was not perfect. Justice rarely is, but it was enough to confirm truth, enough to force accountability, enough to change policy. The institution settled publicly, issued reforms, acknowledged harm. Her name was cleared. The relief did not arrive as joy had arrived, as stillness, a quiet inside her she had not felt in years. She mourned what the fight had taken. Time, security, peace. But she did not regret it because the impact rippled outward. New protections were enacted. Training mandated, reporting channels rebuilt. More importantly, women started speaking sooner. She received messages: you gave me courage. I reported. I stayed. I left. Justice is never just personal. She did not return to her old life. That life no longer fit. She built something new, work aligned with values, boundaries honored. Her voice became a tool, not a liability. She spoke at events, advised organizations, mentored quietly. She learned that survival can transform into leadership. Some nights, the memories returned, courtrooms, emails, silence. Healing is not erasure. But now when Dao whispered, she answered, I stood, I told the truth. I did not disappear. If you are listening now and standing at the edge of a decision, if you are weighing safety against integrity, know this: justice is not guaranteed, but silence guarantees. Nothing changes. Against all odds, one woman stood and the world shifted, not loudly, not completely, but enough. And that is how change begins. After the verdict, the noise faded, but the work did not. Justice is not an ending. It is an opening. The days that followed were quieter. Emails slowed, phones stopped ringing. And for the first time in years, her nervous system did not brace for impact. Silence returned, but this silence was different. It was earned. She learned how tired. She truly was not the kind of tired sleep fixes, the kind that lives in the bones. Healing began in fragments, long walks without destinations, meals eaten slowly, mornings without urgency. Trauma releases on its own schedule. Some people expected her to celebrate, to smile more, to move on. They did not understand winning does not erase the cost. There were moments she felt hollow. The fight had given her structure, purpose. Now she had to rebuild herself without adrenaline. She started therapy, not because she was broken, but because she was honest. Speaking the truth in a safe room felt unfamiliar. No defense, no strategy. Just her. She talked about the fear, the rage, the moments she almost quit. She talked about how power changes people, how silence spreads, how bravery isolates before it connects slowly. Her breath deepened. Across the country, policies changed. Quietly, HR manuals training sessions mandatory. These shifts would never make headlines, but they mattered. Somewhere, a woman filed a report and was believed. Somewhere, retaliation paused. Somewhere, silence cracked. She received letters from strangers, handwritten, careful. Your story saved me. I stayed because of you. I left because of you. She read them slowly. Letting the weight settle. Impact is not loud. It accumulates. There were still critics' voices claiming she went too far, that she damaged reputations. She stopped responding. You do not owe your peace to those invested in your silence. Her career took a new shape. She consulted on ethics, spoke about accountability. She chose rooms where listening mattered. She turned down opportunities that required shrinking. No explanation, no apology. Boundaries became muscle memory. Some friendships fell away, built on versions of her that no longer existed. Loss returned, but it felt honest. New connections formed, rooted in alignment, not obligation. She learned to recognize safety not as comfort, but as consistency. On quiet evenings, she reflected on the woman she had been, the one who noticed the first wrong thing and hesitated. She did not judge her. She thanked her. That woman survived long enough for this one to stand. If you are listening now and wondering what comes after courage, this is its integration. Rest. Choosing softness without surrender. Justice is not revenge. It is restoration. And restoration is slow. She understood something deeper now. Systems change because individuals refuse to disappear. But individuals must then learn to live again. She no longer measured her worth by endurance, but by alignment. Some mornings fear still whispered, "You could lose everything again," she answered calmly. "I already lost what was necessary against all odds." She did not just fight for justice. She learned how to inhabit her life fully, and that is the part no verdict can give you. The part you claim for yourself. This is where the story widens beyond her, beyond the courtroom, into every woman listening, standing at her own quiet edge. You do not need permission to protect your truth. You do not need certainty to begin. Courage is not loud, it is persistent, and justice begins the moment you decide not to disappear. The years after the fight were not empty. They were layered, complex, heavy with memory, but lightened by clarity. She returned to her apartment one evening, sunset spilling across the floor, a quiet she had not allowed herself to feel in years. Her hands moved through tasks slowly. Cooking, folding clothes, writing in a notebook she had bought but never used. Each act small but deliberate. She reflected on the people she had lost, friends who did not understand, colleagues who turned away. Opportunities abandoned, loss was real, but survival had taught her the value of discernment. She began volunteering with women navigating the same struggles, mentoring quietly, listening more than speaking. Providing tools she wished she had, her story became a blueprint, not a cautionary tale, but a map. One woman asked her, "How did you keep going when everyone said no?" She smiled softly and said, "I remembered that silence is temporary, but truth endures. The days were not all calm." Memories returned without warning. Her chest tightened at emails. At office spaces, at legal documents, triggers do not disappear, they transform. She'll learn to recognize the tightness, breathe through it, acknowledge it without letting it dominate. Some nights, she still stared at the ceiling, remembering courtrooms. Threatening letters, lonely car rides, but now she could name it. Now she could contextualize it. Now she could release it. Her career shifted gradually. She was selective, working only where values aligned. Speaking only when she could amplify impact. The fear of invisibility no longer haunted her. She had made herself seen, and that visibility was not negotiable. Across cities, she connected with women who had similar stories. Online meetings, letters, quiet conversations, collective courage spreading through networks. She realized bravery is contagious. It multiplies when shared. One afternoon, a former colleague approached her. Tentative, apologetic, acknowledging the wrongs once dismissed, she accepted it silently, not because she needed closure, but because truth does not demand acknowledgement to exist. Her reflection in the mirror changed gradually. She saw the layers of endurance, the hardness softened by persistence. The sharp edges rounded by wisdom. She began speaking publicly, carefully, cinematically, using her voice to illuminate gaps in systems, using her presence to show that endurance is not the end point. She knew that younger women were listening, observing, measuring courage, and she showed them that it could exist without destruction. The fight for justice had not ended with the verdict. It extended into her life, into policies, into community, into legacy. Some days the weight returned, but she had learned a new rhythm to carry it without being crushed. Her mornings became intentional, her boundaries explicit, her choices deliberate. She traveled for speaking engagements, to colleges, to legal forums, to corporate boards. She spoke of endurance, of visibility, of survival, of the quiet courage that no one applauds. Each story shared reinforced her own. Each story absorbed reinforced the collective truth. Her family watched quietly. They saw her transformation. The woman who survived became the woman who guided some nights. She held her notebook, writing reflections, ideas, letters to women she had never met. And in these acts, she understood permanence. The fight had been long, and the fight would continue. For others, for systems, for truth. But she now understood the most important lesson. Victory is not a single act. It is cumulative. It is endurance made visible. It is the choice to stand when standing is hardest, and so she stood. Every day with intentionality, with clarity, with courage. If you are listening now, and you have faced resistance, and you have felt the weight of silence, know this. Your endurance is meaningful. Your voice matters. Your choice to continue changes the world. This is her story, but it is also yours, and it continues. See you next time for more brave stories.